This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo Pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
Hey, Travis. You didn't answer the phone call I just made to you. I was going to offer you a new warranty on your car.
I'm sorry I missed that one.
I sold one to Travis just recently.
We've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty.
My understanding is that these phone calls about extending warranties on an automobile might stop at some point in the near future. Is that right?
I'm not holding my breath.
And so, listen, you've been in front of the war against robocalls, and now the FCC is finally joining you, taking some new steps to stop the ads.
They are, but it's a question of whether it's going to work.
The FCC announced it's going to block a massive auto warranty robocall scam campaign.
I think Travis is still going to hold his breath on that one. What do you think, Adam? You think that's going to work?
I don't know. You don't know. But what it does is it forces all U.S. voice service providers to take all necessary steps to make sure that robocall traffic doesn't get to our cell phones. If they can't do that, then they have to tell the FCC what steps they're taking to mitigate that traffic.
For the last 2 years, complaints from consumers about those annoying auto warranty robocalls have been the top complaint coming into the FCC. So finally, the Federal Communications Commission acting on this by naming about a dozen or so individuals and companies responsible for many, many of these calls.
I am going to just stop those calls one by one. I'm going to sit on a ridge with a pellet gun and I'm going to just knock them off. Bing, bing, bing.
I mean, I saw Top Gun too. I don't think you're going to be able to do those.
Cyber pellet gun. Bing.
Ah, it's cyber pellet guns. So that's different. Okay. I get that.
See, so now that's my new job. I now work for the FCC, and I am their sharpshooter.
Here's the problem. The FCC also acknowledges that the robocallers with the auto warranty calls have also purchased access to more than 500,000 phone numbers with over 200 different area codes. And what that means is each time one phone line gets identified as being a spam line, these guys just switch to another one, and on and on. And if you're thinking,
so these robocall things aren't going to stop. They're not going to stop any more than scammers are going to stop, doing what our today's guest had happened to her. I mean, they might if she had an out, and it's an interesting story, but it's the same thing.
Welcome to What the Hack, a show about hackers, scammers, and the people they go after. I'm Adam, Cyber Centurion.
I'm Beau, Cyber Lesser Greek Scamp or Scallywag.
And I'm Travis, Cyber Goat.
And today we talk with author, podcaster, and tarot card reader Michelle T. about a scam she found herself in the middle of on Instagram.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
It's Wednesday, Addams. I see you're trying to distract yourself from your own banal thoughts. Let me help. Here's a recording thing made of my latest root canal.
Wednesday, Season 2, begins August 6th, only on Netflix.
Is there a tarot card, Michelle, for somebody who sees lethality in everything?
Kind of. Yeah, there is. The
Which
whole
one?
suit of swords is really about our mental processes. And so there's definitely some paranoid cards in there.
Okay, Michelle, so then I'd like you to meet Adam, the Prince of Swords.
Yes, and I've always been terrified of tarot card readings and the like. I don't want to know. It's like, because I will create a self-fulfilling prophecy, clearly.
Really, there's a little bit of a misconception about tarot that, I'm going to be able to tell you all of this stuff about the future. And I mean, I kind of can, but really what a tarot reading does is just really clarify what's going on right now. It's kind of more like a really good therapy session than it is like sitting down with, Madam, whatever her name is from the Haunted Mansion at Disney, with the floating bubblehead lady.
Can I tell you one thing, Michelle? Because I think you're maybe one of the few people I've talked to in the past few years who will understand what I'm talking about. Now, crystals are often lumped in with tarot card readings, and I used to buy crystals constantly. There was a store near my house, and I would go in and I'd ask the guy, I was like, "What's this rock do?" And he'd be like, "That does this." And I'd be like, "Okay, I want that." And I was desperately in love with my neighbor, and it was unrequited. And so I carried around a stone that represented unconditional love. And it actually helped me not date anyone else until she came around, which she did, and we now live together.
Stop it. That's really great.
Totally true story. But here's what I think the crystal did. I don't think the crystal gave me unconditional love. I think it reminded me that I was interested in unconditional love. Mm-hmm. It was a touchstone, literally a touchstone. Yeah. So do tarot cards work in a similar way?
I mean, they really might. I'm open to any, possibility about how they happen. I don't know how they happen, honestly. The what I've really come to think about it is that when two people sit down with that sort of openness to each other's psyches, and to talking honestly and being a little vulnerable and using these really ancient tools that are illustrated, that have all these pictures that kind of, illustrate all these very monumental events in a life. I feel like something kind of magical happens and a communication occurs and you can get really deep with it. And I think even the cards that sort of predict like a future energy, that's usually an energy you can kind of see coming down the pike already. Sometimes it's sort of like, yeah, you keep shaking the table, the milk's going to spill. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of almost common sense.
But you have to be open to it.
You do have to be open to it. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've experienced when I've tried to read for people who thought, it was just all a hunk of hooey and they kind of wanted me to prove something to them. The cards don't really work.
No, but that's, Michelle, the best part is Adam just said you have to be open to it, Travis. The man who would literally run screaming from the room if you were to take a tarot card back out.
Well, that's why I say you have to be open. If you're terrified, you may not be as open as you should be.
I think we have to do a mini card reading right now. What do you call it when you do the 3 cards?
Oh, I love a 3-card reading. I really love a 3-card reading with like a goal. Like if there's something specific to pick on.
I got it.
What is it?
Ready?
Yeah.
This episode, I can't believe I just did that. We're doomed. And Adam's future bliss.
Okay.
Wait, we should
Those are
only
two
do
separate
one.
questions.
We should do one. Adam's future bliss. Ready?
Okay.
Adam's future
Adam,
bliss.
do you consent to this? Do you consent to me doing a vibe check on your immediate future via the tarot?
Listen, the whole concept of future bliss works for me.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Awesome.
What is promoting and or / blocking your future bliss? Let's see what we got.
Here comes. Wait, he didn't run screaming.
You're being very brave.
Yeah.
Adam, what is your astrological sign? I often like to ask this of people whose cards I'm reading.
It's a security question. Adam.
Oh, okay. You don't need to answer it. That's so funny. It is, isn't it? It is.
No, I've never used that as an answer to anything. So,
okay, good.
Your bliss looks assured. I'm here to tell you. 3-card readings present themselves to me in different ways. Sometimes they feel chronological. Sometimes the card in the middle feels a little bit like a centerpiece being flanked by, their backup dancers. And so the middle card I have for you right here is the Prince of Wands. And he is a happy, happy guy. He is Leo. It is Leo season that we just entered into astrologically. This is a time of like great playfulness, fun, creativity, socializing with people, getting out and about, traveling, all these things that, if you're like an agoraphobic introvert, maybe it doesn't bring you much joy, but these are things that traditionally bring humans a lot of joy. So if they bring you a lot of joy, you should definitely get out there and just sort of take on the mantle of this Prince of Wands here, who is so you just look at him, he's just like, he's riding his chariot.
That even looks like me. The same body type.
Well, and Adam, your whole face when she said that your bliss is assured and started to tell you about the card, your whole face just blissed out.
I blissed
so nice.
And my son is a Leo, so this is.
So you know what that energy is like, that kind of optimistic, magnetic, likes to give attention, likes to get attention. He's pulled by the lion here, his chariot. And then on either side, the first card you have is this great, it's the Two of Wands. I like this deck a lot because it has astrological reads on them too. So it's said to be Mars in Aries. So this is like on fire. This is just like, what do you want? What do you want your bliss to be? What do you think will give you bliss? Like, go at it. Like, you might have to throw some elbows, to get it, but like, don't be afraid to like shove yourself to the front of the line. Mars is what keeps us going. It's our ambition. It's our motivation. And Aries is very self-focused. So it can be a very selfish card, but usually I see that as a good thing. Those times in our life where we got to look out for number one. We got to go after what we want. No one's going to give it to us on a platter. But if you do put a little, oomph behind it, you're bound to get it. And then your final card here is, I was saying earlier about how the swords, the suit of swords are, they're the mind. So there are a lot of paranoid cards in there. There's anxious cards. You got one of the few really beautiful cards from the swords. You got the Six of Swords, which is Mercury in Aquarius. And it's about using the powers of the mind in a fantastic way to plot and plan for your own bliss, to make yourself safe, to, if you see all the lines on this, it's this card is based on a fencer's map of where a fencer can stand and be invulnerable. So it's about using logic to protect yourself and to win, really. But I just see this as like, what do you want? Because especially what kind of playful and fun things and creative things, Leo, do you want? Because you've got the energy to go after it, and you've got the smarts and the clarity and the analysis to be able to really secure it for yourself.
So, Beau, Travis, listen to that. Energy, smarts. There you go.
Adam, you're essentially that last card, especially with the choreography of the fencer. You could be a Inigo Montoya. Or, well, I'm not saying you have to avenge your dad at this moment, but Buttercup.
So how did you get into tarot?
I got into tarot card reading when I was a teenager. This was the 1980s, and I was goth, as were my friends, and we were really attracted to goth music and, black lace, widow's weeds, and, all things spooky. And New England has such a great spooky history. And we would do little pilgrimages to Salem, where there are lots of actual witches, as it happens, and witch boutiques that sold tarot cards and little spell kits and things like that. So I was really attracted to it. I liked that it was so old. I liked that you got so much for your money. Like you could, pay, I don't know, $20 or however much they were at the time, and you would get 78 cards. And this sort of endless possibility for enrichment, excitement, possibility, a way to sort of interact with the great mysteries of life, the unknown, So I really loved it. And, my friends also started reading cards, my good friends, and we would read for each other and just learned how to do them. And they really spoke to me. They made sense in my life. I really loved them aesthetically. I liked the way that when I picked cards for myself, it kind of turned the moment into this sort of heightened, almost sacred moment where I was checking in with myself. I had a tool that helped me be introspective and think about things. There wasn't anything about it I didn't like. I really loved it.
Well, this is great. So you felt it enriched you.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Yeah. And I loved getting readings from my friends and practicing on them. And yeah.
And as a teenager, it sounds to me like the way that you described it earlier was that it has a therapeutic element to it.
Mm-hmm.
As a teenager, is that how you and your friends used it, or did it lean more on the Ouija board side of things, or did it lean actually more into being a teenager is hard and disorienting, and this helps me center myself?
It was a little of both, there was definitely a lot of like, does that person have a crush on me that I have a crush on, picking cards, right? So, which people still, love and romance is still a huge reason why people seek out the tarot. But I would use it for everything. If I felt like something stressful was happening at home, I would pick cards to see, how is this going to develop, or, what could I lean on, emotionally, psychically in my world to help me out. So I used it for all of the ways. And I do that, in readings with people as well. Like I'll totally pick cards to see, if what the path looks like with this romantic interest. But I also love doing readings where people are exploring, working through different emotional issues that have come up for them. You can really use it as a predictor, and then also as like a deep, almost psychological tool.
And how did you get started doing this professionally?
Oh gosh. So when I moved to San Francisco in the very early 90s, I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. I just came out of a relationship and sort of ran away to hang out with my best friend who had moved there. And, I didn't go to college, not having a lot of saleable skills. I didn't feel quite that employable. So I started reading tarot cards on the street, on Haight Street, of all places, for donation, of all things, which is so ridiculous because people were like, here's a rock, man. And I don't mean like a crystal. I mean like a pebble from the gutter. Someone's like, I got a tip for you. Here's how to get food stamps. And I was like, great, that's actually quite helpful. So I wasn't sure if it was like okay to charge for what was sort of like a spiritual service. And, I got over that quite quickly, but a woman who owned a little shop that sold incense and candles, and it was not a witchcraft shop. It was more of like a little home, pretty things for your home boutique. But she really liked the idea of having a tarot reader in the shop on the weekends. So she brought me in, and then that's how I started.
And how does social media kind of factor into this?
Well, gosh, social media is incredible because you get to advertise that you exist and that you offer this thing.
Right.
Prior to that, it was really word of mouth, or, I would post up sometimes at like a bar or a coffee shop, and maybe the business would alert people through their channels that they had a tarot reader on site during these particular days. But now it's actually really fantastic. Most of my clientele do not live in the same city as me. They are all virtual readings that happen, over Zoom. I actually figured this out years ago. I had a friend phone me. It was before, the internet, even many, many years ago. I had a friend phone me in San Francisco who was back in Massachusetts, and they were desperate for one of my tarot readings. And I was like, well, gosh, I've never given a reading over the phone. I don't know if it will work, but we can try. And I gave them this reading, and they were completely helped by it. And I felt like the cards were very uncanny that were coming up, and it just was great. It was exactly as fulfilling as a reading in person, both for me as the reader and for my friend, the person getting, the information. So I was like, wow, well, whatever this weird thing is, I guess you can do it over the phone.
So you mentioned that these readings can now be done online. Obviously, you've just done one for me online and made my day, week, month, year. And that kind of sets the stage for today's story.
Yes, it does.
You know, we talked about social media's influenced your practice, but something happened to you on Instagram recently that brought you to our attention.
Now, do you have a big following on Instagram, Michelle?
I do at this point. I mean, bigger than I ever thought I'd have. I have like 17,000 followers right now.
And do you get business that way?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, tons of it.
Tell us your story, because it's a fascinating story.
It was a larger story than I even realized as it was unfolding right before my eyes. And I didn't realize that I would become so involved in it.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
It first happened because, you know, I have a mystical podcast called Your Magic, and I often reach out to other tarot practitioners, you know, witchy people, brujas, to see, you know, do you want to do something on the show? So there's this one really fantastic witch. Her name is Sabrina Scott, and I really admire her. She has a book called Witch Body that I really like. And I had been thinking, I should ask her to be on the show. And then in my Instagram DMs, I see a little note from Sabrina, and it says, Grand Rising, beloved. Spirit has sent me to you. I'm feeling called to read for you. Would you like a reading? My first thought was, whoa, that's very dramatic. I didn't know Sabrina spoke in these sort of melodramatic tones, but gosh, I guess I don't know her that well. I mean, we've communicated on email a few times. I've watched some videos of her, like on, Vice magazine did a little thing about her. She doesn't seem like the kind of person that kind of puts on such, dare I say, hokey Wiccan airs about her, but whatever. I don't want to yuck or yum. So I said, oh gosh, and also simultaneously, as I'm thinking that's weird, I'm also thinking, wow, Spirit talked to Sabrina about me. That means so many things. That means Spirit's real. Even though I partake in this all the time, I am always still so struck when the uncanny presents itself and seems to sort of like, provide some sort of evidence that like there is something unseen and magical at work. So it was like, ooh, something unseen and magical is at work. And Sabrina is so cool and powerful, and Spirit's talking to her about me. Like, what could be happening in my destiny? It's all this sort of ego. My ego exploded, right? Got very excited. So I got back to her right away and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so honored. Like, yes, I would love a reading from you. And also, do you want to be on the show? And then it got weird because it wasn't Sabrina I was talking to. They didn't know how to answer me about the show. They just kept the conversation got weirder. That weird language got a little weirder. And all of my red flags kind of started going up in my spidey sense. And I just shot Sabrina a note that said, we're not actually talking on Instagram right now, are we? And she said, oh, Jesus, they got you too. And I learned from her that, somebody had cloned her, her account and was pretending to be her and was contacting people and asking them if they wanted readings and then hustling money out of them. And I was like, oh my God, I felt like I'd really dodged a bullet. And I felt so bad for her. And she was also like, she was furious. Like her energy around it, like she was pissed. And she was also so fatigued at her many followers contacting her and letting her know that this was happening, which I was really like, oh, that's so weird. I would think you'd want to know that,
So this wasn't a account takeover. This was someone just assuming their identity, right?
It was a clone.
Yes. And I guess what happened, and I didn't really notice, is that this fake Sabrina account must have followed me. And then I must have followed it back in that weird way, thinking, oh God, I thought I already followed Sabrina. I guess I don't. Oh, okay, I'll follow back. And then that opens the channels, right?
And what they often do is they'll go on the Instagram account and they will actually grab all of the pictures from the real account, post them, and buy followers, so that when you look and you say, there's my friend who's famous and there's 30,000 followers or whatever, you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, they never have as many as the original, which is a tip off. I don't know if this particular scammer is investing that much in buying followers. I'm not sure. I know that they do go and follow all of your latest followers.
When you followed this fake account, did you look?
No, I didn't look at all. And this was before I even knew about the scam. And now I'm really, whenever I see, like, I won't follow anybody back. Like, there was a practitioner followed me recently, and I looked at their account and I thought, oh, this person looks really cool. They're doing really cool stuff with astrology. And then I looked at their handle and there were all these underscores, right? And I was like, wait a second. That's like a total calling card now of these scammers. They'll take your name or whatever your real handle is on Instagram, and they'll just throw an underscore in there. They'll throw an extra letter. So those are the things now. And so I actually, searched for this person on Instagram and saw they had another account that actually had far more followers, no underscores. And that's the real person. And I followed the real person.
But the scams, how much are the readings? I'm curious. How much are the reading?
The scammer is trying to get a quick $60 to $100 off of people immediately through like Venmo or Cash App or something.
Well, if they would do it for $60, which they're not doing, what do you do it for?
My rate for an hour-long reading is $200.
Oh, so it's quite a difference.
Yeah, it is a difference.
All right, so Michelle, tell us how you got scammed.
I started getting messages from strangers, people saying, hey, is this you? Screenshots of an account that was not it looked like mine. Maybe it was like a little dated. It didn't have like the most recent photos. It had a different name, but it was me. It was my pictures. It was pictures of like my child. I don't put a lot of him on, but I do every now and then. Pictures of my husband, I just have one account. It's sort of for everything. And I was like, that's not me. I would never troll people for tarot readings. I would never, DM somebody and be like, hey, you want a tarot reading? Like, that's not how anybody in this industry works, So I was like, no, please block them or report them. And I learned that, pretty quickly that they were blocking me. So I could never, find these accounts myself and do anything about them. So, it started as a trickle, and then it became, oh my gosh, maybe there was like, every time, one maybe got taken down, two more would pop up. There were multiple people pretending to be me. And just tons and tons of messages coming in. And I really understood what Sabrina Scott was talking about about how fatigued she was and frustrated by just having to answer these messages. Because these are people who are being kind, right? And they're trying to help you. And, even though I do charge for my services, of course, there is a sense of real community around me and the people who I read for. And other tarot readers and the people they read for. It's like, I knew that these folks are just trying to look out for me, and I didn't want to blow them off. But so I was always like, yes, thank you. I know that this is happening. No, I don't know what to do about it. No, I can't call Instagram on the phone. Please just block them. Please report them. Please tell your friends this is happening. No tarot reader will ever ask you for a reading. And it became a new project that I had. I would be spending like an hour a day at least at the peak,
Wow.
Responding to these.
Well, yeah, because I was reading one story about your situation where it talked about the fact that your husband said, yeah, I'm talking to you right now.
Well,
except I know it's not you.
Yeah. One evening, me and my husband were sitting in bed, just like on our phones, before we went to sleep. And he was chuckling, and I was like, oh, you got a good meme over there. What's going on? He's like, oh, I'm just talking to you on Instagram. I'm messaging with
Awesome.
you. I was like, oh my God. And now
that's so good.
It was really funny. And he is very funny, and he has a very macabre sense of humor. So he was really trying to bait the scammer, being like, I do need help. I've done very bad things. Can you help me? I'll tell tell you everything. And she's like, sure, $60, $60. Here's the Cash App address. And then I start just searching these addresses on the internet, seeing if I can find anything. I end up giving like $25 to Spokeo to try to find, those sites that, that you pay them $25 and they'll give you information about people. And I got nothing except a weird Pinterest board. So finally I was like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. Just give me the phone. Let me talk to them. And so I was like, hi, I'm the person that you're pretending to be. I had communicated a little bit with them in the past, when they contacted me as others. And I would just be like, I know you're not this person. Why are you doing this? Like, why you could put all this energy into actually learning tarot, doing readings. You're clearly drawn to this. Like, others would help you. Like, you could have a career, if you put this much energy into being legitimate instead of just trying to rip people off. But, then they would just block me. That was me at my most generous. Other times I would just be like, go to hell, you dirty, rotten scammer, and then delete them. But this time I interacted with them again. And I said, I do a podcast about, tarot and things like that. And we're actually doing an episode about you. And I would love to have you on it. Would you?
Yes, since we're doing it about
you, you're kind of the.
They never say yes, though.
Yeah.
Did they say yes?
They did not say yes. First they were like, oh, you're just trying to set me up. And I'm like, I'm really not. Like, anything you want to do to protect yourself, keep your camera off. Like, I don't even care. I'm not even going to yell at you. I just want to know where you're coming from, why you're doing it, how you got involved in it. And then they were like, you have a lot more power than me, which totally got at my little like anti-capitalist punk rock heart. Cause I'm just like, I'm not averse to knowing that sometimes people are in a bad situation and they feel desperate and think that their only out is to do a scam. I have way too much compassion and sympathy for the folks that are being taken advantage of in this way. These are people who are sharing real pain with the scammer, like things they're going through. And this person is just totally exploiting that and stealing money from them. So it's not like I think that it's fine that they're doing this, but I also just understand, that people find themselves in really dumb situations and make dumb choices. So I was open to like hearing where this person was coming from, but then they were like, I'll do it for $60. And I was like, no, you won't. You'll take that $60 and I'll never hear from you again.
All right. So if you're listening and you're interested in following Michelle, you can follow her on Instagram at Michelle Tease, and that's Teaz. That's her handle. And when you go and look her up, you're going to see that she's verified. And you may not know this, but it's not that easy to get verified as a tarot reader. Anyone doing sort of what's seen as occult or spiritual work. Am I right?
Yeah, you're very right. When I started investigating this and speaking to Sabrina, and I spoke to other folks, Sarah Potter, Marcella Kroll, people who have been, who are really prominent and really respected in this tarot space, and they've been getting massively scammed. And they've all tried to get verified by Instagram, and they all have like high profile friends. Like they've been, like Marcella has been on like Busy Phillips' podcast. Like they're not in the shadows, Sarah is the resident astrologer tarot person for Cosmo magazine. Sabrina has these are all people who've been profiled by like Vice. They have all this wonderful press to back them up. And they've had even, friends of theirs who are very high profile try to help, and nothing has worked. What worked for me, I believe, is that I am a tarot reader and I do have this mystical podcast, but I'm also an author. I've written over a dozen books for adults, kids, young adults.
So they were like, oh, we can verify the author, Michelle.
I'm a Guggenheim winner. They're like, oh, she's won a Guggenheim. She's won a Pen American Award. So it's like, and I have a publisher who's at right now. I have a book coming out next week on HarperCollins. So I had my HarperCollins publicist do it for me, and so it was a really privileged experience, much, much different from somebody who is essentially self-employed, and their whole world, what they're focusing all of their study and all of their income generation on is tarot. It's a lot harder.
Would you say getting verified really was a tactic to help you fight these cloned accounts? And were you verified before these incidents or after? or during?
I was verified sort of during these. So this has been going on for about 6 months. So I have a friend who works in the music industry, and she shared with me her contact at Meta, and I passed it to my publicist, and I thought maybe if it's coming from somebody who seems really official, and I think it really did do the trick. So I am trying to help my other friends, some of my other friends, get verified by telling them to lean on, whoever publishes their tarot cards, like somebody who seems like they're in an official capacity, that they have already vetted you and know that you are legit. And then,
agents and stuff.
Exactly.
The same in my friends who, they'll have their agency do it or something like that.
But it does make a really big difference. I saw the way I can tell if there's scam accounts for me is that I get all of those messages from everybody telling me, right? From friends and also from people who, I don't follow, but they come into my DM box. And suddenly they stopped. They just stopped. And it was awesome. And then they've trickled in a little bit. I've gotten a couple lately. So I guess getting verified is not foolproof. There's still another person out there. But I think that for me, it seems way less. Like really, it does make a big difference. And now I can say to people, like on my shows and stuff, like if you follow me, I'm verified. It's really easy. Like it's a very easy thing to say, like follow the verified account, it's the only account. Boom, we're done,
So did you find that scammers are really zeroing in on tarot readers and
100%? Yeah. And psychics, people who are doing, people who are psychic mediums. I'm not a psychic medium. I don't offer that. People who do offer that are also getting scammed. Just things where this is really funny though. Somebody before I was verified, and I should continue to do this, but I was really doing it before I was verified. I was putting just alerts up on my account all the time, just saying, don't get scammed. I will never ask you for a reading. No legitimate, reader will, blah, blah, blah. And people would comment and go, oh my God, that person, I almost got scammed, or I did get scammed. And then one person says, I feel really bad. The scammer gave me a great tarot reading.
Which really meant they told you what you wanted to hear.
It could have been that, who knows? It is so messed up, right? It's so funny. I was like, well, that's good, I mean, I don't know. I mean, as somebody who I've definitely gone, I've paid money to, people offering these types of intuitive services and walked away feeling like that person does not have the talent they think they have. Are they scamming people? Are they totally faking it? Or do they believe that they have some sort of instinct that they didn't have for me? Who knows? I also went on purpose before these scams were on the internet. They were in those little storefront psychics huts that you see, in most cities. And I knew that those places weren't really legitimate, but I really was curious as to like how they operated. So I went to one once in New York City, and I paid $5 to have this lady tell me, oh, a spell has been cast upon you. It's very bad. And, it was, I see your photo and there's powders on it and you're being cursed and you need to rent this stone from me. If you rent this stone, it will break the curse. And obviously that's all just a bunch of hogwash. So I was like, no, I'm cool. Thanks. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. So renting it, right? So then I would have to keep coming back, and then she could kind of keep me on the hook for more money. And, I know from one of my clients who sadly got scammed by this person that they were doing that to him. They gave him a reading, and then they were like, oh, things are very bad for you. They scare people. And after they'd given him, after my client had given the scammer $60 to be told that their life was terrible, which is so sad. And most people have something going on at some point. So, you can get kind of alarmed and anxious, and he did. And then the scammer was like, oh, well, now, you really need this potion now. This potion will take care of it for you. Give me another $100 right now. So they're doing the same thing of trying to keep people like on the hook.
I love the potion concept.
I know, right? And like, I would never do that. I would never be like, oh, here's what I see your situation to be. Let me fix it for you for another $100. I mean, it's like, no, I'd be like, why don't you go to therapy or a 12-step program? But, I mean, and like, sure, do a ritual, do these things, if they feel compelling and helpful to you. But yeah.
So you have a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
You have patrons.
Yeah.
You give readings over Zoom. We know you're on Instagram.
Yeah.
As more and more of your practice moves online, do you feel this experience has impacted how you think about security and hacks?
Yeah, it definitely does. It really has impacted. I'm a lot more suspicious of my online interactions. And I can be somebody who's like, I'm not a very paranoid person. I can be, maybe even careless. I had a client contact me and they were from another country and they didn't have, they didn't have the ways that I accept payment. They don't have those platforms available to them, they said. And they were going to have to use a friend's platform to pay me and this and that. And I was like, all my hackles went up and I just was like, no, and even though I'm like, well, wait, how could this hurt me? Like, even if this, what's the scam? Like, if this is a scam, what is it? And I didn't even know, but like, I don't necessarily think I'm smarter than a scammer, like, especially when it comes to like tech, it's not my forte. Like, I don't.
No, but you kind of are smarter than a scammer. Adam, most scammers are like, I think of them as like, bad dogs. They're like the dog that knows you're going to drop some food and they're really hyper vigilant, waiting for you to do it. But they're not necessarily bright.
Well, is it possible the pitch they made to you was that we don't really have the platforms to pay, but we can find a way to wire you money if you could give us your bank account
information. Like, I was almost waiting for it to go there. Yeah. Like, it just, and as it turned out, I looked at this person and they were a writer and they did have a Twitter account, but I thought there should be more followers, but then like people think that about me. Like, I'm just not really on Twitter. Like, as it turned out, this person was totally legit and it was really sweet to meet her and to read for her. And, I almost just kind of blew it off in this very, very paranoid moment, which, I understand why I was feeling like that, but yeah, I definitely, I think I actually just got scammed recently. I think I might've gotten scammed. There was a woman who was like posting stuff up. She was like, oh, I'm a tarot reader from the Ukraine. And I'm a single mom and like, these readings are, all I got going on right now. And I was like, oh, damn, the Ukraine, and I posted it and I'm like, I'll have a reading from you. And I totally sent her $50. And I just never saw that reading. But, is it a scam or is it like this woman's living in a war zone? And maybe she had said, I'll give you your reading in 2 days, which is not how I work, but who knows how people work, right? Maybe.
But, you can also say, like, for those kind of things in this world nowadays, maybe that is your pocket money for, okay, it might be a scam, it might not be a scam. Maybe it's not, but that is like, I sometimes will do something even though I suspect it's not real, because I really want that hilarious t-shirt or something like that. And if it doesn't show up, okay.
Yeah, totally. Whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm taking a chance. It was different than the normal scammers. Like I looked and it was a real account. This wasn't some sort of glamorous account that would be worthwhile for anybody to take over. It was this woman in the Ukraine, who had a very, very small practice, but was just trying to get the word out. I'd rather get scammed right now and err on the side of like helping somebody, right? And believing in somebody, because the risk for this is that you do get totally shut down and then you're never going to lend a hand or take part in, I don't know, the world around you. Right. And as somebody who's interested in tarot and tarot community, that world is happening on Instagram. So I was like, okay, $50 is a little, every dollar counts, but $50, okay, whatever. It went somewhere. I hope they needed it wherever it went.
Well, all right. Well, some major thank yous to you. First, thank you for making my day, my month, my year.
My pleasure.
With a positive reading. Also, thanks a lot for sharing your story, because it's an interesting story, and it's something that, as you've said, is happening to a lot of your fellow tarot readers. And it's a good reminder, frankly, for all of us to be aware, double and triple check, because a scam and hack, it can happen to anybody. And every day it does happen to anybody, and in many cases to everybody. So if our listeners want to know more about you, and I know that Beau gave this away earlier in the podcast, but if they want to know more about you or your work, where can they go to find out more?
You can go to Instagram. In spite of it all, I'm at Michelle Tease, Teaz, and I am verified. So there should only be one account with a blue check next to it. And I have I'm MichelleT.com. I have a website that has more about my books on it. yeah, I'd say those two places are the best. I am on Facebook and Twitter, but not that much.
Also, Michelle, you have a book coming out very soon called, what is it, Knocking Myself Up?
Yes, it's called Knocking Myself Up, a memoir of my infertility. And it's about when I was 40 and did not have a partner or health insurance. I decided to try to get pregnant. And I did have friends, and I did have a lovely drag queen who said he would share his sperm with me. And it's just a book about everything that happened after I made that decision.
Okay, it sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, all you guys. This was really fun.
Thank you.
So that was fascinating. And I guess I probably, me, I like to try to break my arm patting myself on the back. I don't think I would fall for that scam because I do think I would look to see, like, she's cool, she does tarot, probably some of my friends follow her, yada, 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 right? But, like, it's an age-old scam. Again, Adam, it's the same old thing. It's relying on speed and people not doing their homework.
Totally. It's, once again, impulse, urgency.
Yeah.
And I want it now. Instant gratification.
Like, there's a new stock I've been meaning to tell you about. And if you
no
send
more
me
stocks. I don't want to hear stocks anymore from you.
$50, it's just going to cost you $50.
You're like, well, there is a very well-known investment site where they start with, this $5 stock is going to be the next Amazon. And just give us your email address, which you do.
Yeah.
And then it's like a 35-minute presentation. By the time you get to the end, you don't even care what it is anymore.
That's too fun. Oh, that is, I know those, I do know those ones. And they're like 20 minutes later, they're like, because and then you buy it. They think you're going to buy it because I've just spent 20 minutes listening to this crap.
That's true. And in some cases, you do buy it and then you really regret the fact that you did. Just like my mother used to say when she would go to a movie, after the coming attractions were done, they took so long, she forgot the movie she'd gone to see in the first place.
It sounds a little bit like a timeshare.
Huh? How so?
Oh, just the, they will give you like a intro, then a whole spiel, and then you end up finding out like about 45 minutes in, like, oh, that's what this is about.
Oh, that one. Yeah, no. But like, what about if someone calls you up and goes, Travis, I have found the perfect purveyor of beautifully marbled ribeye in Portland. I will tell you where to get it for $10.
I would hang up.
You thought about it though. He did. He thought about it. He was like, Portland,
I was like,
Portland?
ribeye. I don't know.
Ribeye.
Yeah, that I don't answer my phone for that reason.
Because it's always someone trying to sell you some Wagyu beef.
Yeah, like nine times out of 10.
Come on.
Oh, I thought I'm the other one that you don't answer the phone for, which is not again. He's not going to ask me tech stuff again. Leave me alone.
But Adam, speaking of tech stuff and being paranoid, we have a new thing here at What the Heck.
Yes, we do. And for those people who remembered the good old days when you would go to a restaurant and they would say, would you like to take something home? You would say yes, and they would give it to you in a tinfoil swan. It's sort of like the takeaway. And this new segment is the tinfoil swan.
And it's tinfoil because we actually wear tinfoil hats.
Travis and I, we are, but you're not.
I got a tinfoil hat that has hair implants on it, so it looks like it's my hair, but it's actually a hat.
Oh.
I can sell you one for $60. I can tell you where to get one.
That is a very familiar number. Anyway, without further ado, this is the tinfoil swan.
Travis, this week on AdamLevin.com, you wrote an article. What was it called? Oh, yeah. Who's selling your email address? Here's how to find out.
Yeah, if you ever get an email from a mailing list or a company that you did not sign up for, there's a way to find out who did it, who shared it, and how to stop it.
Anytime you enter your email address anywhere online, that website can infinitely share it with anyone else.
So our email addresses are a commodity, and it's not uncommon for a website to sell your email address to another company to make extra money.
Let's say you buy a basketball from an online retailer, my son being a basketball fanatic. They could sell your email to a local basketball arena so they can email you marketing messages about tickets to the game.
Some companies and organizations do this a lot more than others, but if you want to find out who is actually sharing your email address, there's something that you do, which is a really easy hack just called plus addressing.
What's that?
Well, a lot of the really big email providers like Gmail and Outlook allow you to add a plus sign and any suffix after your username. So if you say that your email address is example@gmail.com, my apologies if that's actually someone's email address, you can instead enter in something like example plus chainsaw or example plus basketball@gmail.com. So when you start getting a bunch of unsolicited spam email and someone's trying to sell you something or hit you up for a donation or what have you, if the email is actually addressed to example plus chainsaw@gmail.com, you know that it was the hardware store you bought your chainsaw from that is sharing your email address.
So I have to stop buying my chainsaw from wherever this place is that's selling my information?
I mean, you can, but they still have your email address. But what you can do through your email client is just set up a filter. So if you get anything from addressed to plus chainsaw, you can just send that directly to the trash or directly to your spam folder.
Yeah, it's a good tip to help keep your inbox free of junk, but it's not foolproof.
Because for every tip, there's some guy that figured out a way around it.
So if you have any questions for us, just feel free to shoot us an email or fill out the contact form on adamlevin.com, and we'll cover it in the next Tinfoil Swan. Otherwise, please give us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your audio.
What the Hack with Adam Levin is a production of Loud Tree Media.
It's produced by Andrew Stephen, the man with two first names.
You can find us online at loudtreemedia.com and on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Adam K. Levin.
Behind every great meal is a person with a story to tell. Hear them on Culinary Characters Unlocked, the podcast that reveals the lives behind the food. Hosted by me, David Page, Emmy Award-winning journalist and creator of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, as I talk with everyone from culinary legends to mom-and-pop standouts about the creativity, grit, and passion that shape the food we love. Follow Culinary Characters Unlocked on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Behind every empire are the people history tried to forget. Lost Roman Heroes tells the stories of the remarkable characters who shaped Rome from its mythical beginnings to its final fall.
Each episode blends armchair storytelling, sharp historical insight, and a bit of humor to bring these lost figures to life. From generals to scientists, from rebels to empresses, from priests to politicians, these lost Roman heroes have one thing in common.
They stood up for civilization when the bad guys threatened, and in doing so, they changed the course of human history. If you're into history that's vivid, surprising, and deeply human, this show's for you.